There's a lot of people who there's a lot of people who work at the VA who would be happy to see half their coworkers fired because they know they don't do anything.
But what Joe Biden did pales into insignificance with what Trump has done in 2 months. I mean,
all right, well, let me ask Dan. Dan, on the
Elon Musk role. Elon Musk is an unvetted head of a government department.
Okay, let me ask Dan. Dan, when you saw the scenes on the White House lawn there, did you feel entirely comfortable for the reasons that Mehdi said? You've got someone who donated hundreds of billions of dollars, obviously, to Trump. He pretty much helped get him elected. He's now in there as an unelected guy with enormous power, it seems, over this DOGE thing that he's doing, popular with some, unpopular with others. But turning it in, as he said, to a Tesla sale room, did you feel comfortable that the White House was being used like that?
I don't feel comfortable with it. I don't feel uncomfortable with it. Look, first of all, let's say something. Every single person in the administration is unelected, and they have a great deal of power. The only person who's elected is President Trump. So everyone works for President Trump. I think there's a really strange sort of villainization of Elon Musk. Oh, he has too much power. He has this. He has whatever power the president decides to give him. First of all, let's say that. Also, there's a long history and precedent for presidents bringing in their supporters to the White House. Joe Biden gives out medals of freedom or whatever those things are called to various celebrities who have helped him, to various big donors like the Soros family who have helped him. How is this any different? Now, you could argue you don't like it or do like it. But there's a ton of precedent for it. Every ambassador let's talk about the ambassador in the United Kingdom. It is every single time. It is not somebody who's been at State Department for a long time. It is always somebody of the president's choosing. That's who it is. It is usually someone who is friendly with the president. Does that make it corrupt? I don't know. It's not legally corrupt. But that is what happens. Okay. It's normal for every president, and you're just making you for some reason see it through a different lens when Trump does the exact same things that Biden would do.
And Mehdi, let me ask you about Elon Musk.
Biden having people at the White House.
Hold on, can I respond?
Well, Mehdi, I would ask you this.
Respond
but Mehdi, do you have intrinsically, Mehdi, do you have a problem with Elon Musk and the DOGE campaign to eradicate federal?
This was back when Elon and Trump were still, attached at the hip, before the whole fallout. And Dan's argument here is basically, well, every president brings their friends to the White House, so what's the big deal? I mean, come on. There's a difference between giving somebody a medal and giving somebody access to federal agencies. That's not the same thing, Dan. But look, let's get into it.
It's a government waste, superfluous spending.
All right.
Did you have a problem intrinsically with the concept of what they're doing?
So this keeps happening now. Dan says something and then you add something, so I can't deal with multiple things. I'm going to deal with Dan first. Dan says that this is all normal and we have precedent for it. Dan's being disingenuous. Elon Musk is running a government department. He is not vetted. He has not gone through Senate confirmation hearings like cabinet officials and ambassadors. George Soros has never led any kind of government department. If he did, Republican heads would explode. He's never run anything in government, nor is Alexander Soros. Musk is literally standing next to the president. He is telling cabinet secretaries what to do. He's attending cabinet meetings. They're going to court. Dan's not telling you this, but there's literal court cases going on right now to determine the status of Elon Musk and DOGE. And by the way, government lawyers are telling the judges he's not the head of DOGE. Donald Trump stood in front of Congress and said he is the head of DOGE. Maybe Dan can tell us today if Elon Musk, who hasn't been vetted by Congress, is the head of DOGE. What's so sad to see is members of Congress like Dan just completely abdicating their responsibilities as a co-equal branch of government and deferring to both Donald Trump and Elon Musk. That's kind of embarrassing to see. And I haven't finished my point. I didn't interrupt you. So when I finish, you can come back in. I know it's 2 against 1, so let me deal with piers now. Piers on DOGE itself. Yes, I have a problem. Well, we're both throwing stuff at me at the same time, so let me deal with them. Yeah, poor me. It's fine. I'm used to it. Piers is asking me about DOGE. Let me deal with DOGE. DOGE is a joke of an outfit, right? Do we all want to get rid of waste in government? Of course I do. I did a long monologue on my show about why we should deal with the Pentagon, which fails an audit every year and wastes billions and trillions of dollars, right? I want to deal with corporate welfare. I want to deal with people who, have conned the government. Of course we do. But that is not what DOGE is doing, right? DOGE is a joke, chaotic outfit. It claims to have found fraud, Piers, not just waste, fraud. And yet Dan gave me a lecture on precise terms. Fraud? Has anyone been charged with fraud? That's a crime. Elon Musk has found no fraud. Because if he had found fraud, people would be arrested or charged by the DOJ right now. We've seen no evidence of fraud. So that's been a lie from Musk. As for waste, you know this, Piers. You've talked about it on the show. $8 billion they claimed to have found. It was $8 million. They said they found $250 million of waste at the Social Security Administration. It was $500,000.
I don't know if I should say this, but this guy needs a patch on his mouth too. Seriously, what are we even doing here? You have a sitting congressman just sitting there, totally fine with a guy who hasn't been vetted, hasn't gone through any Senate hearings, just running things. Since when is Elon Musk the boss of everything? He's basically acting like a cabinet member without any of the rules, and people like Dan are just rolling over. It's embarrassing. It's an absolute abdication of duty. And don't even get me started on this DOGE stuff. It's a complete joke. They are out here screaming about fraud, which, by the way, is a crime. But where are the arrests? There aren't any. Because they're just making it up. They'll go on TV and say they saved billions, but then you look at the actual math and it's like 8 million? That's not a rounding error. That's just lying to look like a genius cost cutter. It's all just corporate guys playing government while actual people get screwed. They're just throwing out these massive fake numbers hoping nobody checks their work. It's fake. It's all fake.
$665 million contract. The Wall Street Journal, that lefty bastion, has found so many mistakes and exaggerations in what they found. They've been absolutely harming the US government. They got rid of people who were looking after nuclear weapons and then tried to hire them back. They got rid of people who were trying to fight Ebola and then tried to hire them back. They got rid of people who were trying to fight bird flu and then tried to hire them back. They fired veterans at the Department of Veterans Affairs who were manning the crisis line for veterans. Dan is a veteran, served the country, should be outraged. And then they tried to hire them back too. The whole thing is a disaster and a joke.
Okay, Dan.
I want to say one thing about the having automakers at the White House. You know, in August of 2021, Joe Biden had a bunch of automakers celebrating electric vehicles at the White House. He left out one in particular because he's not a political ally. He left out Tesla, one of the biggest makers of EVs. So again, this stuff happens. As far as like what DOGE's role is, and then I want to get into what Congress's role is here. So the president has been very clear. Cabinet secretaries are the ones who actually fire. DOGE makes recommendations. That's how they have it set up. I realize that all of this is new, but it was what he ran on. It was what the American people wanted. We are asking questions too, right? We also want to figure it out. It's good. The courts are another co-equal branch of government that will have their complaints about it. Let's let this process play out, and let us all agree on the fact that there is a huge amount of waste and bloat in a lot of our bureaucracies. We talk about firing a couple thousand VA employees. To put that in the context, there's about 480,000 VA employees. 400, like there's a lot. Okay, so we're talking about very small amounts here.
They're about to fire another 80,000.
We'll see. We'll see. Look, I've used the VA in multiple cities. There is a lot of bloat. There's a lot of people who there's a lot of people who work at the VA who would be happy to see half their coworkers fired because they know they don't do anything. I've heard that from VA employees. This isn't that crazy of an idea. The sky is not falling. And then again, these secretaries still have.
Don't fall for this framing. I love watching these guys try to spin it, but come on. Dan's over here acting like VA employees are just sitting around begging for half their coworkers to get canned. Since when do we fix a system by just guessing who to fire and then hoping the survivors can pick up the slack? We're talking about veterans, people who actually went out there and risked everything. Are they getting better care now? No. Because when you cut the bloat by firing the people manning the suicide crisis lines, the actual literal lifelines, and then you have to scramble to hire them back because you realized you messed up, that's not efficiency. That's just being incompetent. It's a joke. And the excuse is always, oh, it's only a few thousand people, we have plenty more. It doesn't matter how many employees you have if you're gutting the ones who actually do the work. Both these sides, the Democrats, the Republicans, they're all obsessed with the military-industrial complex. They love sending people to war. But the second it's time to actually take care of them, suddenly we're worried about the budget. It's total bullshit.
President Trump made that very clear just last week. So, like, we can all take a step back, realize that this is what he ran on. This is what the American people wanted. This notion of DOGE and government efficiency is indeed still popular with the American people. There are going to be problems associated with going this fast. And then
Okay.
you're going to have to fix those problems. That's okay.
Can I respond?
Well, quickly, because I want to turn
respond
to other subjects, but quickly, yeah.
Okay. So on DOGE, very quickly then, on the DOGE issues, I heard Dan say this before, that Elon Musk is not firing people, cabinet secretaries are. Well, that's news to cabinet secretaries, because Sean Duffy at a recent cabinet blow-up called out Musk for trying to get rid of his air traffic controllers, and they had a row about it. So the transport secretary thinks Elon Musk is coming after his vital staff. Well, they're not. They're the ones who are feeling pressure from Musk. Everyone's having to bow the knee to Musk. It's funny. I wrote down this headline from CNN from last week: Republicans push Musk to let Congress vote on DOGE cuts. It's embarrassing to see Dan's party having to go cap in hand. Please, Mr. Billionaire, who's not elected to anything, please let us vote on your agenda. And as for DOGE being popular, the poll out today. As for the poll, hold on, you had your piece. Let me answer, because Piers is rushing me on. The poll out today from CNN shows that the DOGE, Musk is super unpopular. He's more unpopular than Trump. He's more unpopular than Vance. This is not a popular agenda. And this is not what people voted for. People did not vote for the...
Crazy.
Wait, so we're really doing this? We're acting like it's normal for a guy who wasn't even on the ballot to be calling the shots? Look, Dan is sitting there trying to play it cool, saying the cabinet is in charge of the cuts. No, that is total nonsense. Even the transport secretary is having blow-ups with Musk because Elon is trying to gut air traffic controllers. Think about that for a second. You have actual government officials, Trump's own people, having to fight off a billionaire who's just wandering around the halls trying to break stuff. And the kicker? The Republicans in Congress are